Hello and welcome back to another TrickyMist video. Today we are doing the second episode of the podcast, the Fragmented Podcast. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is the Fragmented Podcast? And why do I keep saying fragmented? Well, that's just essentially, you know how podcasts are like somewhere in between 1 hour to maybe all the way up to 8 hours? This is going to be on a much smaller scale where we are going to be doing anywhere from like 10 minutes to maybe 30 minutes at max, depending on how long I can actually talk for. And now I did come up with a few topics, like I wrote down some notes that we can go ahead and talk about throughout today's episode. I honestly, as you guys can tell, we have a new overlay for Streamlabs. So we're going to be doing that for, we always use the intermission screen just because it's going to be much more convenient. And we have some background music as well as we go along with this podcast. But for the most part, essentially, the reason why I always do, that I'm trying to do podcasts is so I can try and get rid of the stutter. You might not hear it every so often. And a lot of times, some of the speeches that I say all the time is usually muscle memory in a sense. And especially with videos, I always get rid of the parts that always sound bad so you guys don't really hear me stutter a lot. But if you guys ever watch my live streams, I do end up stuttering quite a bit, especially when other people are talking. I always find it disrespectful to talk over someone, so I might struggle on saying one word as we go along with it. But I'm hoping to get rid of that because I came back from intermediate school. It was really bad. Beginning of junior high, it was kind of not too bad, but not too good. And then high school, it was gone. A few years after high school, it came back. So we were just trying to get rid of it. And practice makes perfect, especially with these kind of podcasts. So just sit back, relax. We are going to go ahead and go right on into the topics. And so, literally these topics are probably going to be stuff that I experienced throughout the week. And these videos will be up anywhere from Sunday night to Monday afternoon. Just because we are going to be we're pretty much going to be recording these on Sundays. And we're just trying to get into a routine of doing these kinds of videos so we can get one out every single week. But anyways, now I'm not sure if you guys ever had one of those friends that takes forever to get ready. And by forever, they could say they're gonna do something and hours would pass by. Well, I apparently have a few friends that do that all the time. For example, I made friends with a few people from work from a few years ago. And my friend from work, he sat there and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I was like, I'm not really doing anything at the moment. Why? What do you need?" He's like, I need to go get a few things, so do you mind if I could get a ride? I was like, sure. Yeah, I just got to finish up doing this one thing and then I'll be open to give you rides for today. And he's like, all right, sweet. I am gonna get ready. I'm gonna go take a quick shower, and then after I get done and get all ready, I'll message you. I was like, okay. And this was about noonish of when this happened. So I sat there, I watched a few Netflix shows, and I kind of forgot about a little bit of things, but I kept paying attention to my phone, paid attention to the time. So essentially about 40 to 50 minutes had passed and I didn't get a message. I thought maybe he fell asleep. Maybe a few other things might have happened. So you know what? I'm just going to head over and just kind of sit out in the parking lot just in case. So I sat there, did that, sat out there, and I was like, I'm not sure if he fell asleep, but I'm here out in the parking lot, and you can literally just come down whenever you're ready. And he's like, all right. And so about like, so literally the time span, it was noon, got there at about like a little bit before 1ish, but then got a message at 1:30 saying, all right, I'm done taking the shower, now I'm gonna start getting ready. I was like, wait a minute. An hour and a half of taking a shower, that is an insane, like an absurd amount of time. But then again, who knows? I guess people have their weird quirks that they have with the whole idea of taking a shower. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be out in the parking lot, so you can come down whenever. He's like, all right. So another hour passes by. It's about 2:30, and then he's like, all right, I'm coming down now. And I was like, oh man, that was quite a long time. Like, I literally sat in that parking lot for an hour and 30 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if any of you guys have friends like that, but they're like, I know if I know if there's some other people waiting for, like, to do that for a friend, they probably would have just left. They probably would have just went back home and just waited. But me, I just sat there and I was like, man, if I leave now, who knows? Maybe he might be done. Maybe he might be done with whatever, and he might already be down in the parking lot wondering where I went. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick it out. I'm just gonna sit in the parking lot and just wait. And come to find out, I probably should have just gone back home and like continued some of the Netflix shows. But you know what? That was a long lesson learned. But also, like, as we went around, did some of the errands, it kind of like I remembered a few things from when I was much younger. Like, I had I still have a friend, but this friend was kind of weird on that, like, weird aspect of, he was into some like weird ideas and things like that. And I'm assuming there's some other people out there, but his main idea that I remember him doing, like, all the time. So we would be like playing games up on the upstairs TV at his house, and he'd be like, oh, you have to try this thing. You gotta try this thing that I've been doing for like the past couple years. And I was like, what thing have you been doing? He's like, so actually, you know what? It's better to show you. So we run downstairs, we go around to the garage door, go out into the garage. He opens up his mom's van's back door, like the rear door. And literally everywhere in this, like, back of the car is these like pops. Bottled pops that look like they have been opened but not drank. And literally this is what, like, this is how he was telling me on what I should be doing. And he's like, you have to try this. And I was like, try what? He's like, see this pop? He cracks it open and makes that psh, and then he waits for all the like the little smoke or whatever, like pretty much the bubbles to go away. Then he re-closes it and he's like tosses it in, and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna leave that for a month. And then he points at another one and says, this one's been like sitting in this car for about like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. Takes it, sips it, and he's like, that's great. That is absolutely a great taste. And I was like, so you're literally just drinking pop that you've opened up so many months ago? And he's like, yep, because that's the best taste ever. You definitely have to try this. And I was like, that sounds kind of weird, and I think I'm just gonna pass. And he's like, well, it's your loss. They taste really good, and you'll never know until you try it. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna take a hard pass on that. And he's like, all right, whatever. And like literally he had so many different like weird ideas Like that one he was just like doing on the side, but he had like a few other ones, a few like weird quirks per se. He would like the few times whenever I went over to his place, he would always want to like try these weird like things that he would see on the internet. He would literally type in the search bar how to get high without drugs, and he'd find all these websites. There was one where you had to take your arms and you had to like hug yourself, like arms up on your like shoulders, and then you'd like be squeezing, and then you have to breathe in and out as fast as possible, like rapid fire, constantly breathing in and out to like exhaust your body of like all this oxygen. And then you would like sit down, and then you would try and get back up, or something along those lines. It was just so bizarre. He would sit there and do that all the time. He'd be like, "Oh man, I feel dizzy. But he would ask me. He was like, "Is this what it's like to be high?" And I was like, "I have no idea. But why on earth are you even trying to do this?" And he's like, "Oh, because I always see those like shows where they're like people getting high, people doing this, people doing that, and he wants to be one of those people that wants to get high and stuff along those lines." And I was like, "Oh man, that sounds kind of ridiculous, but whatever. You do you." And he's like, "Yep." And he just did like so many different like things along the lines. Like he'd always look up random things to try, and that was just like his main go-to. And he would always have something like strange that he would try and do. Like I know I'm always mentioning whenever I go to his house, but honestly there's not really much of anything interesting when he came over to my place. Like majority of the times whenever he would come over, we would play, like we had like a GameCube, or I forget which console, but there was a game that we always had, and it was single player. And literally whenever he would come over, he'd be like, "Hey, do you have that game? I think it was Crackdown." And I was like, "Yeah." So he would grab the controller, go into my room, and start playing that game for hours. And he'd be so obsessed playing that one game over and over and over again that I got to the point where I was like, do you want to do something else?" He's like, hold on. After I beat this game, then we could do some other stuff. And there's literally no end to the game. You could keep maxing out your character, keep doing all these side missions. And I was just like, no thanks. Because literally he was honestly one of those guys that would like ask to go over to someone's place and they had like a specific item, and he would just use that item all day, and he would never do anything else. Except for there was one time where he came over, I think on a Sunday going into a Monday, and we had like summer football practice, something like that. And he sat there and he's just like he's like, "All right, so I'll come over, spend the night, and then in the morning I would go and leave for football practice at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., something like that, and then his mom would pick him up at noon." I was like, "Okay, I guess." And at the time I had like a little hidden stash around my room of money. And so when I got home, I didn't really think much of it, because you know, you have to trust your friends to a certain degree. So I was like, whatever. And the following day I get a phone call from his mom, and he's like, "Say, did you have like money in your room at one point?" I was like, "Yeah, I had like I forget if it was like $100 or $200. And she's like, do you mind checking your stash to be sure that it's all still there?" Checked it. Like I think he took about $80 or $100 out of it. Like he took half of it. I was like, yeah, I'm missing like half of it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, see, he took, or he apparently all of a sudden had this money like in his pocket when he got home, and he was gonna try and buy something, and she's like, where on earth did you get that money? He's like, I found it. And she's like, where? At like in your friend's room? Like, did you take it out of his room? He's like, no, of course I didn't take it out of his room. Why on earth would I take it out of his room? And then when he came back, he's like, I'm sorry for taking your money. I almost got away with it, but I was just like, oh god. And after that, I think we didn't really hang out. Like, he didn't come over like after that, because I was just like, I'm not gonna like sit there and have him come over to possibly take some valuables away, because that kind of like destroyed the trust. he single-handedly managed to find a way to ruin the trust between us when it came to trying to get a few bucks. And honestly, nowadays I don't have any cash around the place. But if I did, I would imagine he'd be able to find it. Oh man, I feel like this podcast kind of took like a downhill dive. Man, but literally my friend is just so weird. He has so many things. Like, I know when I first got into online gaming, he never got into it. Like, he was always stuck playing GameCube games or PS2 games, like the non-online games. And then I think like 3-4 years after the first Xbox, like not the the main Xbox, but like Xbox 360, he finally got one. But I know in between that time of the online gaming world, I sat there and I had like my gamer tag was TrickyMist 54 in the like the old days. This was back in Halo 3, when Halo 3 was really popular, like 12 years, or I forget if it was like 12 years or 13 years, but it was just so long ago. It's just insane. I literally sat there and so the gamer tag, like some people would think I came up with the gamer tag, but actually my younger brother did. My younger brother's gamer tag back then, I think, was Crizzy for life. And that was just kind of like the way that a lot of people would do their gamer tags. And there's like a lot of people back then that would always do like X, then a word, then X. And some people switched up with like letters like that. And I don't know, it was just really weird back then. Like, I know even whenever I came across like people with actual like microphones and stuff like that, they'd always sing the same song to me every single time. They'd be like, hey, it's Tricky. And then they would sing that song from SSX Tricky. I would sing it, but there might be a claim on the video, so I'd rather not. So if you guys want to look up that song, just type in SSX Tricky, and most likely you'll have it in one of the trailers for this really old game. But it was such a classic. It was a snowboarding game. But definitely, I like even to this day, I have people that sing the same song to me, and it'd be this, like, it would be word for word. It'd be so ridiculous. But anyways, that'll just have to do it for episode 2 of the Fragmented Podcast. But be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below any other games you guys want me to go check out, and be sure to comment down below any questions you want me to like answer during episode 3, because I'll pretty much just be trying to answer them if you guys want. Also, we did have a comment on last episode. Let me just pull that up real quick. Let's see my videos. Now we just gotta click on this, right? Yeah, we'll click on this. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we had a comment from Lotus Sapphire 3 days ago. Oh wait, was it 3 days ago? Dang. But anyways, so like I mentioned before, we are gonna try and do this on like recording it on Sundays and then getting it up on Sunday night or Monday, somewhere in between those 2 days. So we're gonna try and do it weekly, and technically for like the 28th was when the first one came out. So anyways, that'll be the future plan. But anyways, Lotus Sapphire his comment is grabs popcorn. Okay, I'm ready for podcasts. That's all he said, and I was like, all right, I got you. But anyways, like I said, be sure to subscribe if you guys like seeing these kind of podcasts, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, have a great rest of your day, and see ya.